My name is Caleb Morgan, and I used to believe my family was unbreakable. I believed it with the same certainty. I believed the sun would rise every morning over our quiet Tennessee hills. But the truth was a shadow hiding inside my own house. A shadow that whispered to my son when I wasn't home. A shadow that smiled at me across the dinner table. A shadow I was married to for 14 years. And the night I discovered what that shadow had done to my boy. That was the night I stopped being a husband and became something else entirely. If you're watching this on my channel right now, take a breath, because what I'm about to tell you is the story that split my life clean in half. For most of my life, I worked double shifts as a mechanic in a small garage just outside Knoxville. Long hours, busted knuckles, grease under my fingernails, that was normal. But every time I walked through our front door and heard my son's footsteps running toward me, all that exhaustion melted away. Eli was 9. Bright, curious. The kind of kid who asked so many questions, I sometimes thought his brain ran on lightning. But around the time this story begins, he stopped asking questions. I noticed it the day I came home early. The house was strangely quiet. No cartoons. No toys scattered across the living room. No Eli. Just silence. My wife, Jenna, came out of the kitchen holding a dish towel, acting startled. "Oh, Caleb, you're home early. Where's Eli?" "In his room. He's tired today. You know how kids are." But something felt off. His backpack was thrown near the stairs like he dropped it in a hurry. His shoes weren't by the door. They were halfway into the living room. It looked like he'd run inside and hid. I knocked on his door. "Buddy, you okay in there?" His voice came out soft. Too soft. "Yeah, Dad." When he opened the door, he tried to smile, but his eyes were swollen and red, like he'd been crying for hours. "Hey, what happened?" "Nothing, I'm fine." He swallowed hard, looked over my shoulder, toward the hallway where Jenna stood watching. She smiled, but it wasn't the smile I knew. It was tight, curved, controlled. And Eli saw it too, because the moment he did, he stepped back like someone had pushed him. I put my hand on his shoulder. He flinched. Eli never flinched. That night while he slept, I sat outside his room until almost 2 a.m., trying to make sense of the feeling clawing inside my chest. Something was wrong. Something big. Something Eli was afraid to say. And the worst part, I didn't yet know that the truth was preparing to punch through our lives like a freight train. But I felt it. Deep down, I felt it. The next morning, I woke up early. Earlier than usual. Something in me refused to rest. I made coffee. Waited. Listened. Quiet footsteps came down the hallway, small ones. Eli. When he saw me sitting at the table, he hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any words could. "Morning, buddy," I said gently. He nodded. Didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just went straight to the cabinet to grab cereal. But when he reached up, his shirt lifted, and I saw it. A faint bruise. Purple-green. Right below his ribs. My blood turned to fire. "Eli, what happened there?" He froze mid-movement. Didn't turn around. Didn't breathe for a second. Then quietly, I bumped into the door. He said it too fast. Like he'd rehearsed it. Jenna walked in a moment later, wrapped in her robe, acting like she hadn't heard anything. But she had. I saw it in her eyes, the split-second flicker of panic. "Caleb," she said lightly, "don't start. Kids get bruises. But this one looks. It's nothing." Her voice sharpened. Don't scare him. Scare him. I wasn't the one he was scared of. Eli sat down at the table like a soldier awaiting orders, barely even chewing his cereal. Every movement was stiff, careful, watchful, especially when Jenna walked past him. She put a hand on his shoulder, a normal mother's gesture. Except Eli didn't react like a normal child. He flinched again. Hard. And Jenna felt it, because she squeezed his shoulder just a little too long. Her nails pressed into his skin. Eli's eyes dropped instantly. My fists tightened beneath the table so hard, I felt my nails cut into my palms. But I said nothing. Not yet. I needed to see more. To understand. To be absolutely certain, even though my gut was screaming the truth already. When Jenna went to run errands, I finally got a chance to talk to my son alone. We sat in the living room. He was curled up on the far edge of the couch, like he didn't want to take up space. "Buddy," I said softly, "you can tell me anything, anything in the world." He nodded but didn't look up. "Are kids bothering you at school?" "No." "Is something wrong with your friends?" "No." "Is it something here at home?" His breath caught. A tiny trembling inhale. "Eli, look at me." Slowly, painfully, he lifted his eyes. And in them I saw it. Fear. Not of the world. Not of school. Not of strangers. Fear of someone inside the house. He opened his mouth, maybe to speak, maybe to cry, I'll never know. Because just then, the front door opened. Jenna walked in with grocery bags. And I watched the light drain from my son like someone flipped a switch. He sat up straight, wiped his face, pretended like we'd been talking about nothing. "Everything okay?" she asked. Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. Eli stared at the floor. "Yes, Mom." That tone. It wasn't obedience. It was submission. And that was the moment I knew. Something wasn't just wrong. Something was very wrong. Eli went to bed early. Too early. Jenna and I sat in the living room watching TV, or pretending to. I kept glancing down the hallway toward his room. At one point, I heard movement. Soft. Careful. Like someone trying not to wake the house. I muted the TV. "Why'd you mute it?" Jenna asked. "I heard something." "It's the house settling." "No, that was footsteps." She shrugged, took a sip of wine, eyes fixed on the TV. But I wasn't looking at the screen anymore. I was looking at her. Trying to see the person I'd married. Trying to find the woman I'd built a life with. But all I saw was someone hiding something behind perfectly calm eyes. Something she didn't want me to discover. Something that involved our son. For the first time in my life, sitting next to my own wife. I felt fear. Not for myself, but for my boy. And I knew tomorrow I would start digging. And I would not stop until I found the truth she was trying so desperately to bury. The next morning, when Eli left for school, I didn't go to work. I waited. I watched Jenna. And for the first time in years, I noticed how much she watched me back. Every movement. Every glance. Every question. It wasn't love. It wasn't concern. It was control. When she finally left the house to pick up something from the pharmacy, I didn't waste a second. I went straight to Eli's room. And the moment I opened the door, I felt it. The smell. Not dirty. Not messy. Just strange. Like fear had its own scent. The bed was made too perfectly, tighter than a kid would ever make it. His toys were arranged in a way that felt deliberate. Not played with. Placed. I started searching gently. I didn't want Eli to think I was invading his privacy. I checked under his bed. Nothing. I checked his desk drawers. Pencils, papers, notebooks. Then I checked his backpack. At first glance, everything was normal. But when I lifted his math notebook, I found a small folded piece of lined paper. Crumpled. Hidden. My heart rate jumped. I opened it. The handwriting was shaky. Small. Like he wrote it while terrified. 4 words. Just 4. But they shattered me. Dad, please help me. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I folded the note carefully, like it was the most fragile thing in the world, and put it in my pocket. That was the moment I understood. My son wasn't acting strange. He wasn't going through a phase. He was living in fear. Real fear. Fear so strong it pushed him to hide a desperate message inside his backpack. Because he had no other way to reach me. I sank onto his bed, put my head in my hands, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt like the worst father alive. How long had he been trying to tell me? How many nights had he cried quietly behind this closed door? How many times had he looked at me, hoping I'd see through the lies? And how many times had I missed it? I clenched the note in my fist. No more missing anything. No more silence. No more pretending everything was fine. Something dark was happening in this house. And the person behind it was the woman I once believed I'd grow old with. When Eli came home from school, I picked him up myself. The moment he saw me waiting by the gate, he froze. Not in fear. In relief. Pure relief. He walked toward me slowly, the way wounded animals approach someone they trust. "Hey, buddy," I said softly. He didn't answer. Just pressed his forehead against my chest in the middle of the schoolyard. Kids ran past. Parents talked. Cars honked. But my boy stood still, clinging to my jacket like he was drowning. "Dad," he whispered. Can I stay with you today, just you?" My throat tightened. "Of course you can." He let out a shaky breath, the kind you release when you've been holding it in for hours. Maybe days. Maybe months. We walked to the truck, and halfway there I asked, "Eli, has something been happening at home when I'm not around?" He stopped walking. His small shoulders stiffened. He looked at the ground. Slowly, painfully, he nodded. Not a big nod. Barely a movement. But enough. My heart dropped. "Buddy is Mom." He flinched. That tiny flinch told me everything. And before I could say another word, Jenna's car pulled up behind us. Too fast. Too sudden. The door opened. She stepped out. Smiling. But not the kind of smile you want to see. "There you two are," she said sweetly. "I was just coming to get him." Eli immediately stepped behind me. Not beside me. Behind me. Like I was a shield. Like he needed protection. And right then, right there in the middle of the school parking lot, I knew. This wasn't in my head. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't overreaction. Something was happening. And it involved my son. And his mother. That evening, Eli stayed close to me. Too close. Like every step I took, he measured the distance between us. He didn't want to watch TV. He didn't want to play. He didn't even want dessert. He just wanted to sit next to me, silent, small, afraid of something he couldn't say out loud. At 8:30 p.m., Jenna came into the living room. "Eli, bedtime." Her voice was gentle. Too gentle. Eli tensed. I'm not sleepy, he whispered. You are. She stepped closer. Too close. He quickly grabbed my sleeve. That tiny movement, that desperate cling, told me everything I needed to know. Let him stay up a little, I said quietly. She looked at me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're spoiling him, Caleb. But she didn't argue. Not in front of me. Eli stayed up for another hour, leaning against my side, barely breathing whenever she walked past. When it was finally bedtime, I tucked him in myself. Dad, will you stay? His voice was trembling. I'll be right here, I whispered. Promise. Promise. He closed his eyes, but sleep didn't come easily. His little body stayed tense, as if he expected the door to open at any second. And he wasn't wrong, because at 11:47 p.m. it did. I wasn't sleeping. I was waiting. I was sitting in the hallway, just far enough away that she wouldn't see me. I heard the soft click of our bedroom door opening. Soft footsteps. A shadow moving down the hallway, toward Eli's room. Jenna. She didn't know I was awake. She didn't know I was watching. I stood up silently and followed her slowly, step by step. She opened his door, slipped inside, closed it halfway. I walked closer, and what I heard inside changed everything. Sit up, she whispered sharply. Eli whimpered, a small, terrified sound. I told you not to cling to your father like that. You made him suspicious. I'm sorry, Eli whispered. Please, I didn't. Quiet. Her voice cut him like a knife. Then I heard it. A slap. Soft but unmistakable. My vision blurred with rage. I pushed the door open. Hard. And what I saw, my wife standing over our son. Her hand raised again. Eli curled into himself, eyes squeezed shut, bracing for impact. Jenna, I growled. She froze, turned slowly, and for the first time, her face didn't mask anything. Not fear, not regret, not guilt, only anger and frustration that I had seen the truth. Caleb, she said calmly, you're misunderstanding. No, no, I'm not. My voice shook with the kind of rage that builds only when you see someone hurting your child. Step away from him. She crossed her arms. I'm his mother. I can discipline him how I see fit. That's not discipline, I said through clenched teeth. That's abuse. Don't you dare use that word. You're never home. You don't know anything about raising a child. Eli whispered behind me, Dad, don't let her. That was it. Final straw. I stepped between them. Pack your things, Jenna, right now. You're leaving this house tonight. She laughed. Actually laughed. You can't kick me out of my own home. I'm not asking. I reached for my phone. Either you leave, or I call the police and show them everything. Her smile faltered. What do you mean, everything? I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket. Eli's note. Dad, please help me. She went pale. Her eyes darted between me and the paper. You went through his things, she snapped. Because he was too scared to speak. Then she made a mistake. A big one. She lunged toward Eli, as if she could grab him, as if she still had control over him. I stepped in front and physically pushed her back. Harder than I intended. She stumbled. Touch my son again, I said, breathing hard, and you won't walk out of here. You'll be dragged. Her eyes filled with rage. Then fear. Then calculation. She grabbed her purse, her keys, her phone, and left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I locked it behind her. Eli stood there shaking. Not crying, just shaking. I knelt in front of him. "Buddy, it's over, she's gone." He didn't say anything. He just leaned forward and collapsed into my arms. I held him. For minutes, maybe hours. I don't know. All I know is that when he finally whispered, "Dad, am I safe now?" I answered with the most certain voice I have ever spoken with in my life. "Yes, son. You are safe now. Forever." Eli smiles again. Plays soccer. Sleeps without fear. We moved towns. New school. New life. I changed jobs to stay home every night. And one afternoon, while watching him run across a field laughing with his friends, he turned to wave at me. "My son. Free. Alive. Healing." And I realized something. Sometimes the darkest truths live inside the places we trust most. But sometimes, courage does too.